Let me use the standing valve here. Morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Just finished a longish retreat using sound as the entrance gate into the absolute, into the divine. And Chosen and I are septuagenarians. Chosen's all the way 80 next summer. So the future of the Sangha is not dependent upon us. So I'm turning it over to Jogan.
When I was a teenager, I used to sit down and listen to jazz records and meditate. And I thought, I invented a new religion. And then 20-something years later, we started doing this session here. And we started bringing in music into the Zendo, and I had started teaching a class at Reed College in Portland, which is a very academically rigorous school. It's actually one of the schools with the highest drug overdose rates in the country because it's so intense on the students. And I was leading this meditation class, and I figured out that one way to get 19-year-olds to really listen is to play beautiful music. And so this practice, you know, some people can really get into the kinesthetic vibe of the breath and begin to feed on the life energy of that. And some people won't. And it's a weird thing in American Buddhism that the breath is made this kind of holy centerpiece of meditation when there are many, many ways to enter this practice. So for me, and I think a lot of the people that are drawn to this retreat, it's not so hard to find interest in sound because it's beautiful. It's interesting. The world is speaking, and it's already a world that's outside of my system. You know, with a practice like the breath, we can be like, it's my breath, belongs to me. And that sort of identity with the body can be very strong, but sound is clearly the world speaking. It's speaking through my body, speaking through my awareness. So, it's a wonderful practice. It's as simple as hearing those raindrops. It's that simple, and then what makes it deep is that you sustain that hearing of the raindrops. And somehow sustained attention opens the world up. You know, there's a poet who said, there is another world inside this world. Is that Paul Celan? Where's Miosho? Anyway, and so we open up the world within the world when we listen deeply, and for whatever reason, it takes sustained attention. I guess in another universe, it could be that our consciousness was designed that the depth of reality was just already apparent to us, but for some reason it's not. It takes devotion, it takes constancy, and it takes curiosity, and sound is really nice for that. So that's why we did it, and that's why we continue to do it. Music wherever you want.
There is this statement that the Buddha makes, which is Ehi Pasaka, which literally means come, aspirants, come here. And for me, this is really what sound practice makes vivid. This space of receptivity, you know, responsiveness and welcoming. We are always listening to something. I think most of us realize that most of the time it's our thoughts. And so for a large part of sitting here, that's what we deal with. We deal with that material, which is, interesting, which needs to be felt. So we can bear witness. That's one of the qualities of this practice, is bearing witness to the full texture of our lives. Then we had this wonderful, persistent offering of rain through the whole week. So at some point, this also comes in. And so there's just a opening to that. You've got your thoughts, then you have the rain. At some point, you take that into consideration. And I think that everyone did. The deeper they sat, the more spacious they felt. And then the question becomes, where is the rain? So listening practice is so beautiful because it's so obvious that we're being touched and moved continuously. It's actually what we do as humans, and it's just a way of actually acknowledging that. So for me, it's a wonderful practice. And of course, it's a practical practice. You can take that into your life. Listen to the people around you. In this time of closed doors, increased separation, something like this is so important. To be available fundamentally and not preoccupied. So I really thank all of you for feeling like this was worthwhile to take such a large chunk of time. I truly believe this is the most important work.
So let's listen to the rain for a minute. How closely does that rain come to your heart? When it is distant outside, and when it is heard with the heart inside, closer and closer. The coughs and shuffling are part of the rain. Felt with your body, heard with your ears. We normally listen for a few seconds, and then we say, well, been there, done that. But let's keep listening. Every sound is part of the rain. Next summer in fire season, this will be the sound of the heavens opening up, offering us.
It's like each thing in this world has a secret that it will only give up if you're willing to love it, which is attention. Sounds are like that, and our emotions are like that, and the people in our lives are like that. And so we listen. And many people in here listened very intently and continually. And we don't know a whole bunch of stuff that other people don't. So we would like to open it up to participants who would like to share some insights, perspectives, something that you clarified about the mind, your mind, this week.
Luncheon is ready and waiting with the microphone. So anybody who's at the retreat, at Session, who'd like to share something from the heart. Jared, are you raising your hand?
I've been waiting more tears.
Say something.
I'm always struck by the difference in my experience when I hear teachers talking about, the mind wandering, and I'm thinking, that's mostly what I'm experiencing. 95% is the mind wandering in a week like this. What's interesting is that that's okay. That the energy still arises. That the Dharma will find its way through me, despite the fact that I have one of those minds it's not going to shut up, no matter how hard I try, for now. So there's kind of two sides to it I've come to appreciate.
Thank you. Every drop is a thought. Every drop of rain is a thought.
So what I wanted to share from Sesshin is how I moved through panic. I also have the kind of mind that was trained in how many letters behind one's name is important. The need to know more, the need to understand. And on day one of this 9-day Sesshin, that knowledge that comes through bifocal glasses, because it's always looking for more and more, got stepped on. And I went into sheer panic for about 8 hours. And then I went, oh, this is a listening Sesshin. What happens if I let go of my eyes and I listen to the rain, to the teachings and the songs and the Dharma, which I can't read, but I listen with my heart. And the mind napped. The thinking mind napped. And I was broken, wide open.
That's right, the person right in front of you.
I kept having the thought, this is my first session.
Say your names, please.
Oh, yeah.
Just so that we get to know.
My name's Evelyn.
That was Joe and Maureen.
Joe, Maureen, and Evelyn. Thank you, Evelyn.
Yeah. This is my first session, and I'm not sure what I was expecting, but by the end of the first show, I was like, oh my God. I walked into eternity accidentally. It's like, oh, I didn't realize this was going to be the rest of my life. And then it hit me sometime during a sit that what was feeling so long
was that I had stepped into the real flow of time. And every time I sit, I'm stepping into the flow of time as it is truly moving. And it seemed more resonant to me that we talk about waking up, because it's not being in the flow of time really is like sleeping, in the sense that when you're sleeping, time just disappears. You go to sleep one time and then you wake up another, and time has passed, but you haven't experienced the flow of it. And that realizing that I could touch real time, I kept realizing it over and over, what it's really like to be in time.
Thank you. The timeless and the timely have two sides that are vitally important. Where's the Shijaku then? Shijaku, in front of you.
Who?
Gwen.
Oh.
There is nothing that is separate from sound. The rain is happening in the same fabric that is these thoughts, all of these sensations. A ringing, emotions. It's all listening, and it's all right here.
Anybody else on that side? Marlo and Kosho.
Howdy. My name is Rinso, and one thing that I was observing is that I feel like every thought that I have is basically, it's like the house builder is offering me this, like, here, use this to keep you separate and safe. And that there's a choice of whether I put that on into my house or not. So even this thing that I said just now, that's a brick that I'm using to prevent whatever. And that's really enticing because it feels so true. And it's like, oh, that's something you could say in a Dharma talk. And like, so, yeah, I think what the point is of what I just said is to learning to let go of even thoughts that feel like they sound like Dharma, and that if something is really Dharma, it's not coming from some thought that I had. Maybe.
How's it forward, Kosho?
In the first part of this week, I really felt the pain of the part of me that just really believes that I know that this feeling is right. I know what that person is thinking. Really kind of heinous. We can see in the world the extrapolations of this mind, and I see the seeds in myself, and how much time and work it has taken to start loosening that grasp. And I just felt such a real tenderness towards humanity, and was really feeling this ancient medicine that takes a lot of intention to create this kind of container, but we need it all the time. And that is quite simply being resonant bodies in a physical location together, in training ourselves to one another's resonance, and through chanting, bringing us all into the same, sound literally. Enryu, you brought this in, that it is touch quite literally. And so, yeah, the way that it kind of can smooth the frenetic field, and the way the whole group takes a breath in together, and just sitting and all becoming the same raindrops, that group entrainment medicine. I'm just feeling how needed that is. Well.
Anybody on this side? Start off here with Greg. That was Kosho.
Yeah, I mostly experienced the retreat as quite pleasant and neutral, and these like very pro-social feelings arising. And then it was like near the end, I just changed something a little bit in practice, and it was like all these old doubts and really strong feelings associated with those doubting thoughts came up, and something that I had been kind of confronted with for many years now. And there was something that you said, Hogan, you said just the unadorned mind. And it's that unadorned mind. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, okay. There's the unadorned mind, and then there's all this crap that I'm adding on top of it, that making like a huge deal out of something that's in fact really simple and very clear and simple. And then I can add on a lot of doubts on top of something very clear and simple. And it's just, you can just, oh, yeah, okay, I don't need to do that. Yeah.
Dale.
I'm Dale. I'm Dale, and I didn't raise my hand. But I can always speak, especially when Hogan says I should.
Dale was sitting over here under the window, covered with blankets, trying to down all over long.
Yeah, they call this pneumonia corner over here. Yeah. A lot of sitting. It's the longest retreat of the year, I believe, which is part of why I did it. I just can't seem to get enough of these retreats these days. I've done every one since September. And there's just a deepening that happens every time, and every time I go, oh, just a few more days, please. Well, this one I feel pretty ready to go home and get warm.
Thank you. Who else on this side?
Stuart, and I just want to maybe Jogan, you're an inspiration, somebody who came here as a young person and has stayed the course and stand in front of us today. I feel to give myself more and more, and also I've been on several retreats here and I just can't get enough. And I feel very blessed that I'm going to be here for the next month. Thank you.
Why don't you give it to Eugen? Eugen started out here when he was a real young kid. Now he's an old curmudgeon.
You were a young kid.
We all were.
Toning was quite fun this retreat, and I noticed the very first time that we toned was that I came in late, and it was in the evening. We stopped toning, and the frogs had started, and I was hearing the frogs toning, and then when we were toning again, it's like, wow, okay, this is human frogs, or this is the sound of the human voice. And it was so lovely to hear all of us. And it was very, very touching to feel that vibration amongst all of us. And then even just voices and appreciating everyone's voice, just hearing people speak. It was so that depth of listening to the voice and everyone's individuality it just comes forth naturally. It's beautiful.
So for those of you who haven't experienced toning, we could do it for a few minutes. And then we don't know how many people at home who are also could be joining. So toning is basically, we'll start in just a moment. You inhale to your maximum capacity, and then you intone the syllable, and you just let your breath be that syllable, and you're resting your attention in the vibration, in what you hear. And then I like to invite people to rest after the complete exhalation, in that breathless moment. It can often be quite still and clear. And then you inhale again. Right? It's not really a musical exercise, and it doesn't have to be loud or quiet, but you just kind of find your way with it. Turn this. So you can see why we do that.
During one of the Dharma talks on the retreat, this happens a bit for me when hearing the Dharma spoken. There was like part of me that connects to it so strongly, as someone else said, that the truth. It's like I've never heard something that I feel is so true. And there was just this time where the meditation after the Dharma talk, my entire being was just radiating this energy, and my thoughts were going about it too, of just, I need to commit my life to this. This is everything. This is the meaning. This is how I help people. This is how I feel okay. This is like the path. And that, the fact that I hear other people feel that way too, I don't know, that in and of itself, on a surface level, just, it propels me forward, and it just shows me all the meaning that, or some of the meaning that can be found here.
So the fundamental meaning, of course, is Leanne's life. And to grow that and to bring in whatever gifts you can offer to the world, that is part of the Dharma. So it's not an abstract thing, it's your own being, your own unique constellation. For all of us, of course. Give it to Will in the back, please.
So this sesshin was a lot of allowing, longing, spiritual longing to really flourish. I've been having a lot of intense body pains the last few sesshin, and like in the chest and the head and the eyes and everything, and I felt like any time that I was trying to get deeper into practice, that would just get a lot more painful. So it was like holding me back. And then, Jogan, you said in group sanzen, maybe the first or second day, about allowing that to like lower into the body, like feeling from the belly button down. And oh my God, from then on, it was like this fire was able to start of like allowing that longing and that devotion into the body, into the tanden and the butt and the feet, and it just like turned into a total bonfire after a while. Like just every breath, what is it? Every bite of food eating, and just oh my God, it was pretty wild. So yeah, thank you for giving me.
Will any insights after that?
Yeah, I mean that. Longing to know like what really is the fundamental nature of reality. I've lived my whole life thinking that I'm like here and the world is out there, and there was experiences of like sinking so deep into the feet walking or the noises that it's saying like, whoa, actually the self isn't real. Like this separate thing that I've constructed isn't real, and like everything that I'm perceiving is a part of me. Like it's completely inclusive. I don't really know. I haven't processed what that means, but the experience of it is, yeah, like totally vast and unbounded and whole, and no suffering in that realm.
Great. It was a genuine experience. Take it as an inspiration to make that deeper and to be able to live that, to not forget that when somebody that you have a grudge to walks into the kitchen, right? Or not to forget it when you call your mom, or when you're brushing your teeth. That's the next challenge for us after we have those kind of openings is, how do I live this? Because we want to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Patricia, I found the Dharma talk so moving and inspirational, but I was a little frustrated that I couldn't take notes, because I thought to myself, how am I going to remember all this? And I was able to let go by thinking, well, I'm going to remember the thing that I need to hear the most. And so that was the teaching of we miss the depth of the present moment by reaching for the future ones. Thank you.
Sad to say, they're all online.
I was very happy to hear that.
or will be.
I'm Jared. You've asked me to speak twice now, Hogan, and so I'm going to try. I've had this feeling that I haven't been able to identify for a long time, this feeling of disconnection. And this sense that something is just not right about the way the world is being perceived. And sitting here in community, and the body sensations I get when I hear people speak, and that's what I feel is that's connection happening. and my mind desperately wants to understand it. My heart just wants to feel it. And there was a lot of conflict going on the entire time I was sitting in here around all of that. But it's okay, you know. I feel as if, you know, we are eternal beings having this confusing human experience, and there's a lot of conflict going on between this command center, this random thought generator I have up here, and what's, you know, eternal in here. And it's very confusing and it's disorienting, and anyways, it was overwhelming for me. Friday I wanted to leave. I really did. And if I had had a way to do so, I probably would have given in to that impulse. But thankfully I was brought here by some other lovely people. So that was not an option for me. Side note, I don't know, maybe this is my imagination and it's okay if it is, but every time when we would walk to Orioke, it seemed like the birds started singing a very particular song. I don't know. That's what I was hearing. It seemed to be the same every time. Like they were talking to each other about like they're out again. They're doing that thing. You know. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
I had the honor of actually working with another session that was happening, which was the online participants. And it was actually very moving to hear their dedicated practice and how they were working with it. And I might share a few of those things. One of the participants was every morning before going to work, just looking up at the sky for a moment and talking about how impactful that was. Another person was learning from their dog. You know, how did the dog relate with curiosity to the world, with enthusiasm, and how could that teach that person? Another person was just really paying attention to how the earth supported their footsteps when they walked. This is really beautiful, actually, just the creative ways that people were taking practice into their lives. But I have to say, I was so moved by one person's practice that wasn't here but feels like was lighting a fire under this whole place. Someone who had so much difficulty that they're going through in their life, but was sitting just diligently through this whole thing. And for me, it was just incredibly moving.
Foundation of faith in this tradition is not belief. Foundation of faith is direct experience. We've touched something touches us, and we begin to know that, and we want to grow it. We want to take the next step in. So this is a path that is not based upon first you have to believe, and then you have to, kind of go through some steps. But rather we say jump in, have an experience, recognize the experience, and that's part of why we're sharing people being touched, and then grow it, and then help other people to also find and share. So I hope everyone's faith has been touched by this practice and by being here, and I hope that you all will continue. We've done this retreat many different ways. I posted or I think Pat, you posted the playlist. First time, one of the earlier times we did this about 12 years ago, in 2012, I posted the playlist of all the music that we played. And this session, we played only 3 pieces of music, but then we played like 45 pieces of music or 60 pieces of music. So if you're interested in the evolution of this retreat, take a look at the bulletin board over there. So as I mentioned right from the beginning, Chosen and I are aging out, and the next generation is this group here and whoever is with us. So in that spirit, why don't you wrap everything up here for us?
Thank you very much. Don't believe that the practice depends on the monastery. The monastery is a place of deep practice and can definitely infuse and deepen and support. But when you leave these doors or leave this building, listen, feel this heart, respond to the people in your life, and know that you have all this wisdom within you. That's why it resonates. That's why it resonates, because on some level you already know it, and it's just a matter of doing the practice to bring it out. So please continue.